That was the sentence that split my life into two halves. Before that night, I was a husband. After that night, I was a lesson. My name is Dominic Laurent. I was 33 years old when Isabella walked out of our apartment carrying 2 suitcases, and the kind of disappointment that makes a man question his entire existence. I used to believe love was enough. I was wrong. There was a time when Isabella and I were rich in ways that couldn't be photographed. We lived in a modest 1-bedroom apartment with peeling paint in the kitchen and neighbors who argued too loudly. We ate takeout on the floor because we couldn't afford a dining table. We laughed over cheap wine that tasted like regret. She used to sit cross-legged in my lap and say, "Dominic, one day we'll look back at this and miss it." She meant it then. She loved the way I made coffee in the morning. She loved how I memorized her favorite songs. She loved that I tried. I wasn't wealthy. I wasn't famous. But I was steady. I worked long hours at a growing consulting firm, saved carefully, and dreamed quietly. She would kiss my forehead and whisper, "As long as you're building, I'll wait." And I believed her. It started slowly. A new friend from college re-entered her life. Social media posts, champagne brunches, rooftop parties, designer handbags. Isabella began staring at her phone longer than she stared at me. "Look at this, Dominic," she would say, turning the screen toward me. "They're vacationing in Monaco." I'd smile. "That's nice." She would pause. "When will we travel like that?" "Soon," I'd say. "I'm working on a new contract." Soon became her favorite word. Soon became my burden. She didn't change overnight. First, it was a handbag she had always wanted. I worked overtime for 2 months and bought it for her birthday. She cried when she opened it. "You did this for me?" she whispered. "Of course." For a week, she was radiant. Then came the shoes. Then the membership at an exclusive fitness club. Then upgraded furniture. Then private events. Each time I stretched further. Took extra contracts. Skipped sleep. Sold my watch. Invested money I wasn't comfortable risking. Each time she smiled. Briefly. And each time that smile faded faster. "You know," she said one evening while scrolling through photos of glamorous women in silk dresses, "a real man elevates his wife." The words hit harder than she intended. "I'm trying," I said softly. She didn't hear me. Soon she was going out without me. At first, she invited me. I didn't belong there. The men wore tailored suits worth more than my car. The women carried themselves like they had never known denial. Conversations revolved around investments, acquisitions, luxury real estate. One woman laughed when Isabella introduced me as her husband. "Oh, what do you do?" she asked. "I'm building a consulting firm." She tilted her head. "That sounds modest." I saw something flicker in Isabella's eyes that night. Embarrassment. After that, she stopped asking me to come. She met him at a private gala. I learned his name later. Alexander Moretti. Charismatic. Impeccable suits. A voice that filled rooms without effort. Known in political and financial circles. Surrounded by powerful allies. When Isabella first mentioned him, she said casually, "Alexander is interesting. Very driven." Driven was an understatement. He owned luxury properties, imported exotic cars, and invested in industries I couldn't even pronounce. But his wealth didn't grow from patience. It grew from shadows, underground deals, laundered funds, corrupt partnerships disguised as legitimate enterprises. He moved money like a magician moves cards, quickly, confidently, and without explanation. And he noticed Isabella. It began with flowers delivered to our apartment, then jewelry, then a weekend business retreat she didn't tell me about until after she returned glowing. She smelled different when she came back, more expensive. "Alexander thinks I have potential," she said once. "He believes in big living." I swallowed my pride. "Do you?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Soon she was spending nights at networking events that lasted until sunrise. Her closet filled with designer pieces I knew I hadn't paid for. I asked carefully, "Is he giving you these?" She looked at me like I was small. "It's called generosity, Dominic. Some men don't count every dollar." I felt myself shrinking in my own home. She stood by the door with 2 suitcases. "I deserve more," she said. "I'm building more," I replied. "I don't want to wait." Her words were calm, detached. "I love you," I whispered. She looked at me like love was currency she no longer accepted. "Alexander can give me the life I want now." And then she said it. "You're too small for my dreams." The door closed. The silence that followed was louder than any argument we'd ever had. Her closet was empty. Her perfume lingered. Her wedding ring sat on the counter. I didn't cry immediately. I sat on the floor for hours, staring at that ring, replaying every moment where I might have done more. Maybe if I had risked bigger. Maybe if I had been bolder. Maybe if I had been richer. But grief doesn't answer questions. It just sits with you. For months I existed but did not live. I avoided mutual friends, avoided social media, avoided mirrors. Then one night I saw a photo of her. Penthouse balcony, silk dress, champagne in hand, Alexander's arm around her waist. She looked happy. That was the night something inside me shifted. Not anger, not jealousy, clarity. I sold the apartment, closed old contracts, packed one suitcase, left without announcement. I moved to a smaller city where no one knew my story. I rented a cheap studio with thin walls and a mattress on the floor, and I began again. I woke at 5 a.m. every day, studied market trends, researched industries underserved but growing, sent emails to investors who didn't respond, made calls that ended in rejection, pitched ideas in conference rooms where men half listened. I shook hands with people who doubted me. I refined my strategy, adjusted my language, strengthened my proposals. There were days I questioned myself, days I almost quit. But pain is powerful fuel when directed properly. I partnered only with ethical business minds, people who valued sustainability over shortcuts. We built slowly. No illegal streams, no hidden operations, no bribes, just long nights, calculated risks, and relentless execution. I missed Isabella sometimes, but I missed who she used to be, not who she had become. Growth doesn't scream at first. It whispers. Small contracts turned into medium ones. Medium turned into large. Our company expanded regionally, then nationally. Investors who once ignored me now requested meetings. Publications began asking for interviews. My face appeared on business panels. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had become the man she wanted, just not for her. I heard whispers about Alexander, regulatory investigations, unusual financial audits, political scrutiny. His empire had always been fragile, built on illusion and intimidation. When one thread unraveled, the entire tapestry began to fall apart. Accounts were frozen, properties seized, allies disappeared overnight. Luxury is loud when it arrives. It is silent when it leaves. I was in a hotel suite preparing for a national interview when I saw a news alert. Federal authorities investigate Moretti Enterprises. I felt no satisfaction, just inevitability. That evening, during my own televised interview, I spoke about integrity. True wealth, I said into the camera, is built on foundations that can survive storms. Somewhere in the city I once called home, Isabella watched. I know she did. Just Isabella. That invitation stopped. That friends distanced themselves. Luxury circles are loyal only to stability. A year and a half after she left, I returned briefly for a conference. My driver slowed near a courthouse due to traffic. And there she was, standing on the steps. No designer entourage. Her beauty was still there, but dimmed. Reality humbles even the proudest faces. For a second I wondered if she felt my presence, but the windows were tinted, and I chose not to roll them down. She stared ahead, unaware that the man she once called small was seated 10 feet away in the back of a luxury sedan she would have admired. Our eyes never met, and that was intentional, because closure isn't always conversation. Sometimes closure is distance. I loved her. Deeply. I would have built the world for her. But some people don't want to build. They want to arrive. and a rival without foundation collapses. My revenge wasn't shouting. It wasn't confrontation. It wasn't proving her wrong. It was proving myself right. I wasn't small. I was becoming. And becoming takes time. If you're reading this while questioning your worth because someone chose flash over faith, understand this. The quiet builder always wins. The patient architect always stands taller than the thief who borrows glory. She left because she thought I was too small for her dreams. But she didn't realize I was building dreams too big to carry her weight. And sometimes the greatest thank you you can give someone who underestimated you is success they can only watch from a distance.